Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Big Lair here, Jack's Private Coffee Corner. Today I have a little, I guess I'll call it a woo-woo video. A woo-woo video here. It's January 3rd, it's Friday, 2020. Taking on the new year here, right. Okay, today's topic is something I've thought about for a long time, and I've thought deeply about it for the last 6 months. And here it is. Past life influence versus present alternate reality influence. And what influence? Influence on your current life. So the current life you are now living. So now I'm, Big Lair. I'm in Japan. It's 2020. So this current life I'm living now is being influenced or has been influenced by my past lives. And it's also being influenced by the present alternate realities that I am coexisting in. Okay, and I think it's true for all of us. I think it's true for all of us, but I've only, thought about it in regards to myself, so I can only talk about myself and what my opinions are on the subject. So, past life influence versus present alternate reality influence. Which one is having a bigger effect on my current life? And for those of you out there, which one of those is having a bigger effect on your current life? Okay. This is a topic maybe other people have discussed it. I've never heard anyone discuss it. Then again, the videos I watch on YouTube are a very small group. And the circle of people I hang around a lot, there's not too many psychics or intuitives in my immediate circle. I mean, I do have some people, but I will not include them in the discussion. Okay, I do have some close relatives. I recently found out someone is very, very psychic, and I'll just exclude them from this because we haven't really talked a lot. For a number of years now. We're starting to talk more. But anyway, so just the people in my daily life, the people I spend most of my time with, that's what I mean. That group of people, there's really no one for me to talk about this with, other than my wife and kids. So now, talking about past lives, of course, if you do not believe in past lives, then maybe you're not interested in this at all, what I'm going to say. And if you do believe in past lives, whether you can remember your past lives or not, I would just say that they're influencing this life, or they have influenced your current life. So if I look back, I'm able to remember a number of my past lives. I have, there's 3 basic themes that have run through my past lives as far as my memory goes, or my being able to access those past life memories. The first theme is an artist. I can remember a number of lives where I was an artist, and in fact one life I was a very well-known artist. I'm not going to say who it was because I think I've mentioned in previous videos, everyone always says something like, oh, I was Cleopatra, or I was, Alexander the Great. I was the first king or the first emperor of China or something. People, normally think there's someone really famous, and a good friend of mine in America, he always used to say, well, someone had to be like a ditch digger, and someone had to be shoveling shit in Cleopatra's stables, so how come no one ever says they were that person? And that's a good point, right? So, I don't want to come off and say, hey, I was this famous artist in a past life, and everyone's like, oh yeah, you're like everybody else. So I'm not going to mention who I think I was. I'm pretty positive I was, because I can remember in that life having more than one wife. I remember the second wife especially, and I met a woman in this life. Now I'm from America, and she's from Europe. I won't say the country, but we met in America, and I knew right away, oh my God, she was my second wife in that life, and she even looks like that person in this life. And I took her to a library and showed her a portrait that I had painted in a past life of her. When I was this artist, I painted a portrait of her and showed her, and she couldn't really see the resemblance, but for me it was like a dead ringer. No, absolutely no doubting it in my mind. And I've been kind of in contact with her through the years, not really. And she did mention that, the more she actually went to see the painting. She traveled, across a couple countries in Europe to see that original painting in a gallery, and said when she saw it, she got goosebumps because she knew that it was her. So that was kind of an interesting confirmation for me. At first she was like looking at in the textbook, art history textbook, saying, I don't know, maybe. But then when she saw the painting, she said she really felt like, I've seen this painting before, like in our house, but now it's in a museum. So that's really interesting, isn't it? And I've often thought to myself, what if I went to Europe and went around to some of these galleries and said, I want my paintings back. I know you guys got this painting and that painting, and it was really mine. I didn't give it to anyone. It's, give it back. Would be kind of fun, huh? Okay. And I'm wondering, if I was able to see some of those paintings that I did during that life, did I leave messages for myself? Because that person, that artist, was one of the few artists who was famous and quite wealthy from his art during his lifetime. He didn't have to, die first and then someone else made money off of him. He was quite astute, a businessman as well as an artist. He was quite accomplished in languages, traveled around Europe, and had a very interesting role in some historical events. Some people think he was possibly a spy. Maybe he was, but he was in a good position as a famous painter to visit royalty from any country. So it wouldn't be strange for him to visit the king in this country and then the queen over here in this country, because he was there on official business, because people wanted paintings done. But at the same time, he could relay messages to people, which is what he did. And that's very interesting, because in an alternate reality, a present alternate reality, I have a similar job, kind of similar. So anyway, three themes, right? An artist. That's the first theme. The second theme is a priest. A priest. I think my first past life was a priest in Tibet, and if it wasn't present-day Tibet, 1,000 years ago, whatever that area was called, I'm calling it Tibet because I can remember the clothes I wore, the places I lived, what the mountains looked like, who my sister was, who my father was in that life. And I've met both so the person who was my older sister and the person who was my father in that life, I've met them in this life, and I knew who they were, which kind of blew me away. And that was really the start of me being able to access past life memories. So anyway, a priest. And I know that I've been something similar to a priest in other lives, like a medicine man. I was a healer. In Japan, I was a part of this one group, and I was a healer, and I understood which plants you could eat, and what plants and like herbs and different stuff could be used as medicine and stuff like that. So that was that has been a second theme in my past lives. So a priest or a holy person. And then the third theme is a warrior. And that's really interesting, because when you say a warrior, people kind of have, an idea in their head. And I've been everything from a soldier in a large army down to just someone who was living in a small village in Europe, who is just one of the guys who protects the village, sort of like in America now we have volunteer firefighters. If a fire happens, the bell rings or you get a call on your cell phone, and then boom, you just, whatever you're doing, you drop it and you go to help fight a fire somewhere. And years ago, if you lived in a village, all of the men of a certain, physical condition knew that, if something happens or someone comes to raid the village, you're going to drop everything, grab your sword and fight. So I have been in that situation too. And I've had other lives where I was a very accomplished warrior and was very good at what I did. And, talking about that, being a warrior, isn't that interesting that would be a theme in someone's life? And I'm sure there are, there's a decided number of themes. There's only so many roles, a person could possibly play in their life. What are you going to be in like me, artist, priest, warrior? I'm sure there are other things. I just, I don't remember them. But those three, I've seen numerous lives, past lives, where I was that person or that occupation, right? I was doing that occupation. Now, of course, for painting, being an artist, and being a priest, everyone can hear that and go, oh, that's cool. But when you say warrior, then you start to get into moral issues, right? Because you can remember, I can remember being in a battle. I met this guy, I don't know if I should say this, but I will. I met this guy in Thailand, very accomplished martial artist, very high-ranking martial artist. And for whatever reason, he thought we should like spar. We should, as they say in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we should roll, right? We should like fight each other. And I didn't want to at all. And number one, I'm like a really easygoing guy, and I don't want to hit anybody. When I was younger, in this life, I studied martial arts. I enjoyed fighting then, but then as I got older, I was like, nah, I'm just not interested anymore, Been there, done that. So I'm not going to like do anything to anybody or touch anybody unless someone threatens me or my family. Well, then I will, but otherwise I have no interest in punching anybody or doing anything like that. So this guy kind of forced me into it, which is a weird thing too, right? Forced me into it, and I got the better of the guy in 2 times in a row. Now, I'll admit, he kicked my ass for about 90 minutes before I got him to submit. He knocked me around like crazy, And he had been doing martial arts like really, really seriously for, I don't know, what was it, 30 years or something, 40 years. And at that time, I had not done any martial arts for probably 20 years. So here I am. I'm just there to talk to him about his martial art and find out about it because I'm interested. And he thought I was there to secretly fight with him, which I wasn't. So we got into this, and I submitted him twice. And I'm not saying that to be egotistical or anything like that. I didn't want to do it, but I was pushed into it. And then, but afterwards, after it was all said and done and we spent a few days together, I was hit really hard with these past life memories of he and I. And he and I were these, we were, like I was saying, we were the guys in the town that if something happened, you defended the town. But we also had like armor on. So, maybe we were more than just the defenders. We might have been like knights or something. I'm not going to say knights because that has kind of a romanticized image. And again, it sounds like, oh, you had this great life, great past life. But I'll just say we were in armor and we were fighting off like these attackers, like just a huge number of attackers. And I relived this past life memory while I was with him. And we were the last 2 people standing in this whole village. Our whole village had been decimated. We were the last 2 standing, and we both got like the death cut. We were both like stabbed. It was just overwhelming odds. Each of us were fighting like 6 to 8 people at the same time, and we got stabbed, and we both fell to the ground. And I remember, and I relived this. You can imagine how intense this was. And I looked over, as I'm laying on the ground, I looked over at him, and he was looking at me, and we tried to reach for each other, and that's how he passed away. And that hit me like so intensely. It was a hugely emotional moment. And the guy said to me, like, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" And I said, I felt kind of funny coming here to meet you, because I went to Thailand to visit this guy. Didn't know him from Adam. I was just recommended. It was recommended that I meet him, and I did. And I said to him, he's a pretty hard-nosed guy, right? Because you imagine how hard this guy is, that the only thing he wants to do is fight with me, because he thinks I came there to secretly fight with him. So I go through about, like I said, 90 minutes of getting my ass kicked, and then I submitted him. He got mad. We did it again. I submitted him. And then things got really wild, and I won't go into what that was, because maybe there were some illegal things that occurred in the country. But Thailand, I guess pretty much anything goes. But anyway, so a very hard guy. And I told him, I said, you're not going to believe this, but I know why I felt strange, because you and I shared a past life together, and this is what we did. And I explained the scene to him, and even he got a little teary-eyed, and he said to me, he said, "If I didn't see your face and how emotional you are telling me the story, I wouldn't have believed it, but I do believe it." And he said, "I have a very good friend who's a Navy SEAL, a retired Navy SEAL. And one time he and I were somewhere training, and it got to be where we had to train against each other. And the guy said to me, 'Nope, I won't do it. I won't do it.' And he walked off the mat. And I was really surprised, because this guy was also a well-known martial artist. And later the guy said to him, 'I know that you and I in a past life fought together, and we died together. And I just can't do this. Emotionally, it's too hard on me to even think about you and I fighting each other, because we were like comrades, in the past.' So he said to me, if I wasn't looking at your face now and seeing the emotion, I wouldn't have believed it. And because I had heard this story from this other guy about a year ago, I really believe you, because, what are the chances of two different people telling me this same thing?" So, and that's just one example of a past life that I've seen, being a warrior, I guess you would say. So those three memes, right? An artist, a priest or a holy person, and a warrior. Now, in my current life, I've been born with a natural art talent. I call it a God-given art talent. There's pretty much nothing I can do for art. I'm a very good painter. I can do sculpture. I can do blacksmithing. I can make knives. I can make jewelry. I understand design at a very high level. I understand color theory at a very high level. And I'm not saying to be egotistical. I'm just, trying to tell you that, most likely so many of those past lives of being an artist, that information and that knowledge carried through my DNA or through my soul or something. And I have it now, just at my fingertips, so to speak. Now, the holy man part, I'm extremely spiritual. Maybe some of you have already gathered that. There's people often will say, "Are you religious?" And I'll say, "I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual." Because religious, you're talking about a religion, and I'm not really a follower of any religion. I think it's great if people are serious about religions, they have faith and whatnot, but I do not follow any religions. I'm very spiritual, though. I have a good sense of what's right and wrong, and why we're here, what's this whole, what's our existence about. All of that I think I have figured out. So, and at a very young age, I can remember being in Sunday school. I grew up, my family went to a Methodist church, and we had to go to Sunday school. I hated Sunday school. Come on, the one day of the week, like Saturday was the best day, because you could just do whatever you wanted to. Although my brother and I were usually made to go grocery shopping with my mom, and that took up about half the day, right? You go grocery shopping, and then you go here, you go there. You know, your mom has to run all the errands that she couldn't run during the week because she was working, right? So your Saturday, you know, half your Saturday could be gone. So Sunday's the one day like, man, I can just do what I want. Nope, you got to get up early and go to church. Oh, I hated that. And then going to Sunday school. And I can remember just thinking, you know, of course, the Bible is your textbook, right? The Bible, they've got the King James Version of the Bible or whatever. And, you know, they tell you these stories, and I just couldn't buy any of the stories. You know, I'll never forget the Adam and Eve story. There's Adam, there's Eve, they have 2 kids. Kids grow up, the kids get married. Whoa, wait a second. You know, I'm raising my hand. Where'd the girls come from? What girls? Well, you said Cain and Abel got married, like, or the one got married, right? Anyway, so they get married. Where'd the women come from? The priest, he doesn't have an answer. And he's like, you got to have faith. Have faith. It doesn't make any sense. I can remember being 6 or 7 years old, literally thinking to myself under my breath, this is all bullshit. Why am I here? This is bullshit. And I also have to say that when I was a kid, now my brother will attest to this, I swore like a sailor. I swore so much. I can remember being like 7 years old and stringing together about 7 or 8 expletives as I was talking to other kids. And it got to be where the neighbor kids couldn't play with me. Now my parents, I don't know if they knew about this or not, but one day I came home. I happily came home thinking I was going to eat lunch because it was time to eat lunch. And my dad promptly walked me into the bathroom and jammed a bar of soap in my mouth, made me bite onto it, and then pulled it out of my mouth and left all the soap residue in my mouth, wouldn't let me spit it out, and then gave me a talk about how swearing, you know, meant I had a dirty mouth and had to get my mouth cleaned and da-da-da-da-da. And that did not stop me from swearing. It just made me realize that, oh, I can't swear to everyone. I've got to be careful who I say it to and where I say it. But that, you know, so that continued. So my, you know, the number of friends I had went down very quickly. And I remember thinking, let's see, I was baptized when I was about 12, I think. Yeah, I was baptized when I was 12. And I remember thinking through the years, like, is the reason I swear because I wasn't baptized as a baby? So I remember getting baptized at the age of 12 and then realizing, hey, nothing's different. I don't feel different. Yeah, this all is bullshit, you know. But I toned down on the swearing a lot. And now I don't really swear at all. I mean, once in a while I'll say a certain word here or there, but I've learned from George Carlin. You know, George Carlin was a well-known comedian, and he swore a lot, but he did it for a reason. You know, he was choosing his words extremely carefully, and he wanted to get a certain reaction from his audience, and that's why he chose certain words. And for me, having been an English teacher for over 20 years, I choose my words carefully also, and I'm always searching for the perfect word, and sometimes the perfect word is, you know, a word like bullshit, right? So I don't, there's, you know, you'll never hear me use the F word, and there's a few other words you'll never ever hear me use just because I don't think it's appropriate. But so yeah, you know, the whole thing with the Bible as a kid, I just thought, man, there's something wrong here, you know. The story of Noah gathering up all the animals on the earth, a pair of animals. You know how big the ark would have to be to do that? Maybe there weren't that many animals. I don't know. There were less animals then, but there's so many stories in the Bible that did not make sense to me. You know, like who is the dude who's going to sacrifice his son, and he gets ready to like kill his son, and God says, no, don't do that. I was just kidding. You here, use a lamb. Jesus, man, your God's going to tell you to kill your son? That is nuts. That is totally crazy. I don't think any God would ask that unless it was an evil God who was deceiving you. So anyway, yeah, religion's not for me. I'm very spiritual though. So there's all these things that you wonder about in your life, right? And then the warrior part, yeah, when I was a kid, like 10 years old, I started, karate lessons. I was a natural at it. I was just a natural at it. And, I had no trouble like getting into these sparring matches, these events, where you go and fight other people. I loved it. I loved it. I even didn't mind fighting people because I was a kid. I would fight adults, and I really, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. So I think there was huge carryover from my past lives, and that has influenced my current life. Now, so there's that. So I think a person has to look at their life and see what things are you good at, what things are you drawn to. Are there certain things you do that you don't know why you do them now? It could be because of your environment, right? You could have something in your environment. You're looking at your parents, you're getting stuff from your parents, or you're getting stuff from siblings, or you have friends who do certain things and so you do it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about bigger things that would have more influence on you, like I'm talking about having an art ability, being a natural at, fighting, being inherently spiritual, feeling like you have an understanding of the universe and why we're here, even though you're just a kid, right? I had an intense interest in Asia as a kid. I just instinctively knew all of this stuff about Asia. So I think that's all from a past life influence. Now, so the second part is present alternate realities. I think I've talked about this before in other videos, that I think we are simultaneously living alternate realities with our current reality. Now, I think this because on numerous occasions when I fall asleep at night, I fall asleep in this reality, in Big Lair in Japan reality, and I wake up in a different reality, and I'm aware of what's going on. And I've been in those realities and said, oh man, okay, I left the reality where I'm Big Lair and now I'm in this one. Oh, okay. And I just seem to know where to go. Who are the people I'm with, And one of my alternate realities is I'm working with organized crime. And I'm like an advisor to a number of families. When they have a problem that can't be solved, they come to me and I give them advice on how to solve it. And I believe at times I may solve it myself. But I'm most known in that life for giving good advice, which, is very far from the life I lead now. Now, in this life, for whatever reason, probably from my, the first time, I'll say 16. So from the age of 16, I've been in situations where I've met organized crime individuals and gotten along with them famously, so to speak. Just like, man, we're best buddies. First time was in California. I was 16, living in Mountain View. Not a couple blocks off of El Camino Real in Mountain View. I forget the name of the street we were on, but anyway, in this apartment complex, big apartment complex. Had a nice pool, had a jacuzzi, had a weight room, a sauna and all that. One of those places, right? And I was there practicing martial arts in this little exercise room, and I met this Italian guy. And he started giving me pointers on, different techniques for using weapons and for fighting. And I'm thinking, who is this guy, And then whenever I was at the pool or in the gym and he happened to walk by, he would always stop in, say hi to me, and ask me what I had learned or what I was working on, and would try to give me pointers. And on numerous occasions when I would be at the pool, he'd ask me, hey, get out of the pool, man, I'll have a chat with you. And he was always drinking some kind of hard, whiskey or hard liquor. He'd have it in a cooler, chilled on ice. And I remember numerous times we'd be sitting there and he'd ask me if I knew about guns, and he told me all about guns. He loved guns. And I can remember him saying, hey, you see that person up there on the third floor, the second window from the right? That's about, and he'd say like, that's about 50 yards out. At that elevation, he said, well, if we had the so-and-so rifle, he says, of course you'd have a silencer. He says, but yep, if you had a something grain bullet, boom, that would take care of that person. And I remember thinking, like, why is this guy talking about picking people off, shooting people? And then one day I'm walking through the parking garage and I see this beautiful red Lamborghini pull up. Who is it? It's this guy. And he's got like a supermodel sitting next to him. Puts the window down and he says, hey, Larry, I want you to meet so-and-so. She's my date for today. Ha, 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 ha. And he said, man, if I see you around when I'm by myself, I'll give you a ride in this car. I never got a ride in the car, but so I realized, oh, this guy is like in the mafia. He's like a hitman for the mafia. Why was he nice to me? And he told me, showed me a lot of martial arts stuff that worked out well in subsequent matches that I had, very good advice. So that was like the start of it. And then going through my life, even when I was in Malaysia, I met this guy who was a retired Chinese mafia boss. And for whatever reason, he just walked up to me one day and sat down on this, table. We had like a little coffee bar near one of the pools where this place I lived was. And he sat down and started talking to me and was a very nice guy. Told me some of the funniest stories I've ever heard in my life about, all these girlfriends he had and the jobs he did and the countries he went to and how he almost got arrested here and almost got arrested there. And this place that we were living, in the end, unfortunately, there were lots of Nigerians that had moved into this place. And it got to be where they would rob people in the elevator. Like, I'm 6'4", right? 250, 260 pounds. Some of these Nigerians were my size. You get in the elevator with 4 or 5 of those guys, the elevator's pretty cramped. And you wouldn't be able to do much against that many guys, right? Especially if they've got knives or something. So anyway, and I got this tiny Japanese wife and my kids were real young then. And anyway, I found out this guy one day sees me and says, hey, I'm on my way to go. I forget where he was going, but he says, meet me downstairs in the coffee shop. I'm going to postpone my appointment. I need to talk to you immediately. And knowing who this guy was and who he had been, I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, what could that be? Man, did I tick somebody off? Am I in trouble? So I go down there and he says to me, hey, last night there was a stabbing in the elevator. Or no, yesterday morning. Some Nigerians went in. They asked the guy for money. The guy didn't have any money. And they stabbed him to death because he did not have any money to give them. They were unhappy with just getting his cell phone and his watch because it wasn't expensive enough. So they stabbed and killed him, left him in the elevator. Some mother and her little daughter on the way to school open the elevator and the doors, open up and they see a guy just in a pool of blood dead. So he said to me, I've checked with he said, I'm retired now, but I checked with the boss who runs this area and he's given the green light to all these Nigerians to rob people. And he says, man, it's not safe for you and your wife and kids. I'm worried about. She says, you got to get out of here. You got to move out. I was like, what? Got to move out? And I said, man, I'm going to lose my deposit. Because, I won't go into the whole deposits and how long you have to stay in an apartment in Malaysia to get your deposit back. But I said, man, I'm going to lose my deposit. Oh, okay, I guess can't be helped. And he says, who's your landlord? I told him the name and I almost told you this guy's name. Anyway, I'm not going to do that. And he said to me, tell your landlord that Mr. So-and-so would like her to give you your deposit back. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, this guy had told me he was retired and what he had done, but you never know if someone's being upfront with you or not, making up a story or not. So I call my landlord up, tell her what happened, tell her I'm moving out, and that I want my deposit back. And she says you can't get it back because, whatever reason, we have an agreement, we have a contract. And I said, well, I said, my friend thought you might say that. I said, my friend's name is Mr. So-and-so, and he asked if you would give my deposit back. And so my landlord was a lady. So the phone like gets silent for about 5-10 seconds. And then she says, okay, I'll have the real estate agent give you the money back. And she hung up. I thought, wow, that was pretty easy. And then the real estate agent person was a really nice lady. And she actually lived at the place, or near the place where we did, and she brought people in and out to show them this apartment building. So I immediately got a phone call from her and said, oh, I heard you're leaving, and geez, I'm pretty surprised, but you're getting your deposit back. So I find the new place to live right away. We move out, so we're safe. And then I meet this real estate lady about 3 months later. I'm at this supermarket, like a shopping mall with a really nice supermarket with my wife, and we see her. And she says, hey, do you have time for coffee? You know, it'd be nice to catch up with you guys. I say, yeah, sure. We sit down and have coffee. And she says, I still can't believe you got your deposit back. That's really something. And I asked the lady why she'd give it back, and she wouldn't answer. She just said, no, I have to give it back. And I said, well, actually, you know, I know this guy and his name is Mr. So-and-so. And her eyes got wide and she goes, you know that guy? How do you know him? And I said, well, I don't know. He kind of introduced himself to me, and I kind of consider the guy a friend, you know, because I've hung out with him numerous times and had a lot of chats over coffee with him. And she said, that guy used to run a huge area of Malaysia. Like, wow, if that's your friend, you're lucky. And so anyway, that's just one example. I could give you like 10 other examples of similar stories that have happened to me in my life. So what I'm getting at is that in this present day alternate reality, I'm working with organized crime as an advisor. I'm now thinking that whatever I have in that alternate reality that allows me to do that job has flowed into this life. You know, I don't know, what would you call it? I've got mojo. I've got, you know, some sort of charisma in that life. I don't know what word to put on it, but whatever it is, you know, whatever, you know, magical energy or aura in that life that I have that allows me to do that job and to be associated with those people and to be well liked by them has flowed into this life. There's an influence of it in this life. Now, the funny thing is, when I was a little kid, probably 7, 8 years old, I remember my elementary school library had books on the mafia, the Italian mafia. Looking back, why did an elementary school have books on the Italian mafia? I read all of the books there. You know, I knew about Al Capone and Frank the politician Costello, Lucky Luciano, all those classic guys, all the guys who came over from Italy and started the Italian mafia. I knew about all those guys. And from that age, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be like an advisor. I remember being, you know, let's see, what grade was I in? So I was 9 years old. That puts me at about, what, 4th grade? Yeah, I remember being in probably 3rd, 4th grade. It was 4th grade. I remember the teacher. I can't remember her name, though. Anyway, you know, you had to get up and give a speech saying what you wanted to do. And I was like all proud thinking, I don't even have to write this thing down. I can just tell you from memory what I want to do. And I remember the teacher saying, Larry, you don't have any notes for your speech? I'm like, nope, got it all memorized. Oh, that's great. And, you know, okay, start. I said, well, what I want to be is a consigliere, which maybe isn't the correct pronunciation in Italian, but, you know, that's the guy who advises the Godfather, the top guy in the whatever family, you know, whoever's the head of the family, a mafia family, you're the guy who gives them advice. And I said, yeah, that's what I want to be. And I started explaining all this stuff. And the teacher's just like, wait, you want to do what? Where'd you get that idea? And I said, I don't know. I've wanted to do it for a couple of years. And she starts asking me, have you seen movies? Have you read books? Oh yeah, I read all the books in the library. And even as a kid, I wondered, like, why do I want to do this? But it was just so darn attractive to me. Like, it was like, that's what I was meant to do. I just knew it. That's what I'm going to do. But then I'm good at art and other things, and so I got pulled in a different direction. But now at the age of 51, I look back and go, wow, that other life had a tremendous influence. That, other present day alternate reality had a tremendous influence on me in this life. And what the heck happened in that alternate reality growing up that got me to that point? That's something else I've not been able to remember, even though I go into that life. It takes a lot of concentration to be in that life, in that present alternate reality. It takes a lot of concentration to be in that alternate reality and remember things to the point where when I come back to this reality, I'm able to remember them. So going to that alternate reality and then remembering, when I was a kid in that alternate reality, at this point, it's just too difficult. It would require so much concentration. I haven't developed my abilities to that level yet, but I'm thinking, yeah, probably that will come someday. I'll be at that level someday where I'll say, oh, that's what happened in that life, and those events led me to do that. Now, I think when you do something that you're really, really good at in life, you get that job and you just super excel at it, you were meant to do that. So the universe, moves in mysterious ways to get you there. So maybe it's just something like that. And that's how I got that job, that profession in this other alternate reality. But it does have an influence on me here in this reality. Like I said, I've been able to meet all these people of that profession in several countries, in 4 different countries. So that's pretty amazing in itself, right? And actually my approach to family, like how I treat people in my family, is very similar to how all of these people treat their families. They value family, and they make sure their kids are aware of certain values, and that your kids always take care of the mom. Everybody shows the mom a lot of respect, and yeah, that's how I run my ship. So very interesting. Now that's just one example of how I think present day alternate reality is influencing my life. It's a pretty big influence in a way. So what does everyone think of this? What do you think of this? Have you realized that your past lives are affecting you and influencing what you do, and that you have these present day alternate realities that are also influencing you? So, in this life, I'm a very good artist, a very accomplished, high-level artist. Are there other alternate realities, like parallel, I'm living these lives simultaneously is what I mean, right, by this present-day alternate reality. Are there other alternate realities where the art abilities I have in this life are flowing into those lives? So that's a lot to think about, right? So let me know what you guys think of all this. It's a pretty interesting topic, fascinating, in my opinion. So leave, some comments below and tell me what you think. Do you believe it? Don't believe it? Do you have any experience with similar things? I'd like to hear it. Okay, everybody, you have a great day and take care.